and a half. It's now time for the Morning Watch. The Morning Watch is brought to you today by Home and Things, your construction finishes superstore. Also, Chris and Charles. When you think loans, think Chris and Charles.
Make sure you're charged.
Save in style every time you shop at Home and Things. Find all the top brands at the best prices. Grab a deal on porcelain, ceramic and mosaic tiles, fixtures and faucets for kitchen and bathroom, windows and doors, lighting, home decor and more. Yes, you can save in style on just about everything in store. Old Hope Road and Constant Spring Road. Shop for store-wide savings today at Home and Things. Brands you know, brands you can trust.
Power in great moments. If you have financial needs, Chris and Charles will fix them for you. Power in great moments since 1992. Oh, we have it all. Power in great moments. Relax, you got Chris and Charles. Oh, we have it all. When you think alone, think Chris and Charles.
Listeners to Love 101 FM are advised that the views and opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily those of Love 101 FM.
Hello and welcome to the Morning Watch on Love 101 FM. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. A special welcome to our listeners on love101.org, and if you're overseas and on the move, U.S. listeners can access us at 712-832-8001. And if you're in the UK, 0330-332-6541. Or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also join us on Love 101 FM Facebook and YouTube Live. In the first watch today, does the glass ceiling still exist in Jamaica? And in the second watch, exploring the case for a healthy working environment. For our social media question, we ask, what else has to be done to finally shatter the glass ceiling? What else has to be done to finally shatter the glass ceiling? We are asking you to share your responses on our Love 101 FM Facebook page and the YouTube channel. And also on WhatsApp, 876-997-3125, using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll share your responses later on the program, but before all of that, here's our quote.
Good morning, good morning. Today's I quote is an inspiration quote, and it says, if life were predictable, it would cease to be life and be without flavor. This quote is by Eleanor Roosevelt.
Hi, good morning, Joka.
Morning.
An interesting quote there.
Definitely.
What did it say again? If life
were predictable, it would cease to be life and be without flavor. And that's so true.
Yeah, I mean, after all, let's say that what variety is the spice of life.
There we go.
And it's a good thing that your life is already blessed and highly flavored.
Hallelujah.
The first watch will be back after this break.
Another World of Worship Wednesday is coming your way inside Alive, 1 to 5, May 3, packed with worship, fun, and information. Stick around for the brain testing meant to size at 1:45. Prayer Blast will come your way at 2 o'clock. More prayer, more power. 2:15, we feature Tamela Man as our worship artist of the day. At 3 p.m. inside the Drama House, we bring you Making Lemonade Season 3, Episode 6, titled Secrets and Lies. All this and more will come your way inside Alive, 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. This World of Worship Wednesday, May 3, with yours truly, Sarah and the Chirpy One on the family station, Love 101. Celebrating 30 years of music, family, and love.
Tell me how you're feeling. Perspectives through the generations. Life in a man's world. Join us Wednesday, May 3 for the mailbox as guest Keneal Allen talks basketball, marriage, music, videography, and so much more. Right here on the family station, Love 101, celebrating 30 years of music, family, and love.
Every Wednesday at 11 a.m. on Love 101, you're invited to listen to Good Morning Minister, a weekly feature where government ministers will speak about the development in their various ministries. Listen for the updates and have your questions and concerns ready to share inside Good Morning Minister as the Minister of Information, Robert Nesta Morgan, and a guest minister or agency head discuss the issues and take your questions and suggestions. Get ready to call in during Good Morning Minister, 11 a.m. on Wednesdays, right here on Love 101, the family station.
Here is your opportunity to connect with someone who will listen, pray, and give guidance. It's the Ministry of Counseling and Prayer of the Edgewater Baptist Church. Please call 876-220-6474 or 876-332-7956. Weekdays between 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. Saturdays and Sundays between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Please talk to someone if you're finding it particularly challenging to cope during this period of crisis. Someone is waiting for your call. Please reach out today, 876-220-6474 or 876-332-7956. It's the Telephone Counseling and Prayer Ministry of the Edgewater Baptist Church. A reminder that somebody cares. Endorsed by Love 101.
When I come to the end of myself, Father, carry me.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Now, according to the Oxford Dictionary, the glass ceiling is an unacknowledged barrier to advancement in a profession, especially affecting women and members of minorities. Now, new analysis suggests that it covers all aspects of women's lives and is built by a pervasive bias and prejudice held by both men and women worldwide. But how bad is it here in Jamaica? And aren't we listed as one of the countries with the most women as leaders of businesses? And after all, did we not have a female head of state? Well, to discuss these and other related issues, we have joining us Mrs. Michelle Smith, owner, CEO of Chocolate Dreams, and Miss Ruth Howard, Gender and Development Practitioner. Good morning to you both.
Good morning, Dylan. Good morning, Ruth. Morning.
Great. Good to have you with us, ladies, this early in the morning. Now, how does the concept of a glass ceiling for women relate to Jamaica, both past and present? Beginning with you, Ms. Howard.
All right. So you're right in your definition about the glass ceiling being a barrier that prevents women and other minorities from being able to access certain kinds of advantages and advancement in society. And the truth is that it still exists in Jamaica. And it's not just in the workforce. It is in pretty much every area of their existence. So I'm going to now make reference to a gender assessment that was done by the World Bank Group. Just March of this year it was released. And it notes that even though women now outperform men in educational attainment, it is not translating into any kind of equality for them in places like the labor market and employment and in other social areas of life.
Yes. So, you, based on what you are saying, it is still a concern in Jamaica, And any developments though that you want to mention in that regard?
All right, sure, no problem. Yes, it is still a concern in Jamaica. So we still have a very high unemployment rate among our young women, for example. There is still a higher poverty rate among women in general. And one of the reasons for that is because over 50% of households in Jamaica are single parent women led households. So that literally means that more than half of the homes in the country are headed by single women who have responsibility for taking care of everybody else in that home. Now, if you are in a society where you are not getting the same kinds of benefits as your male counterpart, but where you have greater responsibility for taking care of most of the families in the country, then you see how that is creating a very serious imbalance.
Yes. And Ms. Smith, what is your take on that matter?
My take is that we haven't successfully changed the environment in Jamaica for women at all. I still see a great imbalance in most things. I mean, let's face it, we've just come through a very crisis, and I think that when you look around the landscape, if you notice, it's not mostly, but a lot of Jamaican women businesses manage to survive the crisis. Do we ask ourselves why? Our women are really workers. We are the people who are the force behind the men, but it's just that we haven't been able to break the barrier successfully. We just haven't been able to break that barrier. I'm not sure why. I look at the boards across Jamaica as well. I still don't see a major increase in gender equality on our boards. I'm not seeing it. I'm seeing it in our parliament. We have a lot of women in our parliament. So I thought that it would filter down and help our gender equality by that, but I'm not really seeing a lot of change. You know, the UN Women has a document that they've been trying to put in the workspace where you sign on to WEPS. It's called WEPS, Women Empowerment Principles. And so I have signed on to it for the last couple of years. And I try to push women in my area of business. But I don't see that it's making a big difference. I mean, we try, but I just don't, and I'm not seeing it. I think the opportunities for women are just not there.
Ms. Howard, I'm looking again at the given definition in the preamble, an unacknowledged barrier to advancement in a profession, especially affecting women, members of minorities. Are there any particular professions in Jamaica where this applies?
So So Jamaica has made improvements in terms of having more women as middle managers and so on. But we still see the disparity in, for example, our parliament, where we still have overwhelmingly more men than women. Let me just make reference to a study that was done by the UNDP in 2020, where literally 40% of the persons who were surveyed said that they believe men make better business executives, men make better political leaders. So those are two fields that come to mind right away. The business area, the field of business, and also the field of politics. Statistics also show that women are primarily hired in the services sector. And when I say services sector, I mean areas like tourism, doing things like the housekeeping, the waitering, things like that. That's where you will find most of the women being employed are in service roles that up to about middle management. But to be like the leaders and in charge of most of the businesses and so on, you won't find that.
Yes. And
it's true. It's true. It's fairly true.
It's true. Yeah, go ahead.
No, it's very true. If you look
Yeah.
around, you see
Mhm.
they still put women as the underlings and men in a more prominent position.
Okay.
I don't know
I'm
why.
so sorry, Miss Smith. We're up on a break. Hold that thought. We'll be right back.
Mm-hmm.
Breast cancer is real. Cervical cancer is real. Heart attack and stroke are real. And so are pregnancy complications. As a woman, if you are hit with one of these critical illnesses or complications, your whole life can be turned upside down. Total Woman Insurance Plan gives you real insurance protection for up to 15 major critical illnesses, life insurance, and other benefits, including free cancer screening. Get serious about your coverage. Get real protection with Total Woman Insurance Plan from Sagicor Life.
Save in style every time you shop at Home and Things. Find all the top brands at the best prices. Grab a deal on porcelain, ceramic and mosaic tiles, fixtures and faucets for kitchen and bathroom, windows and doors, lighting, home decor and more. Yes, you can save in style on just about everything in store. Old Hope Road and Constant Spring Road. Shop for store-wide savings today at Home and Things. Brands you know, brands you can trust.
Every time my son send the liquor barrel for me, I have to go sit down and waff all day like me have nothing else to do. No, sir, me no fear do this.
Tired of spending all day at the wharf to clear your barrel?
Driver, turn up that the little bit for me there.
Starting May 1, use contactless clearance to clear your non-commercial shipments and avoid the long wait. Call Jamaica Customs today at 876-922-51408 or email contactlessclearance@jca.gov.jm.
But God goody, me I go call customs and learn about the contactless clearance. Hook me up.
Less waiting, more convenience. Try Customs contactless clearance today.
Simplified CDD or simplified customer due diligence requirements make it easier for customers that are assessed as being low risk for money laundering to open accounts, as fewer documents are required for customer identification and verification. This financial literacy tip was brought to you by Bank of Jamaica, building an inclusive economy.
There's certain moments in life you'll cherish forever. Like buying your first car, stepping into your first home, sending your child to university, starting that business you've always dreamed of. These are your great moments, and helping you achieve them is ours. Call Chris and Charles today. We have a loan for all the great moments in your life. Powering great moments since 1992. When you think loans, think Chris and Charles.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint, and in this, the first watch, we're looking at the whole matter of the glass ceiling in regards to women and employment in certain sectors. And we're asking, does it still exist? In so doing, we have online Mrs. Michelle Smith, owner, CEO of Chocolate Dreams, and Ms. Ruth Howard, Gender and Development Practitioner. I think before the break, Mrs. Smith, you were making some comments.
Yes, I know Ruth has the numbers, so that's really what we need to go by, right? The numbers. But yes, my whole thing when I look at it, and I'm going to be very honest, okay? My thinking is that women need to empower women. That's where I think we have. Because I think that if we were empowered enough as a group, we would be a force to be reckoned with. I'm not sure if we are as together as the men. And I'm being very real here, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if we are as together.
Why is that though?
I actually something that I've been looking at for quite a while. I'm not quite sure what it is, but there is something there that we have a barrier that we have to break as women. We have to be more supportive of each other. We do. It's lacking,
strange.
very lacking.
Isn't that strange? Are not women more believed to be more caring, more family oriented?
May I interject?
Sure,
Yes.
sure. I want to hear what you have to say.
So I do agree with Miss Smith that one of the ways to counteract the existing inequities that exist between women and men in society is for women to support, mentor, train, and encourage other women. That's absolutely one of the solutions. But you're asking a more fundamental question of why we have these risks in the first place. Why are we seeing these inequities even with women to other women? I want us to look at then how we are all socialized in our society and some of the very subtle but very pervasive biases that run through the things we're taught to believe about women and girls and the work that they do, and men and boys and the work that they do. And this may be an explanation of why we end up seeing even women ending up kind of discriminating also against other women. So, for example, if we're looking at the value we place on care work, taking care of children, taking care of the elderly, and so on, the truth is we do not, as a society, place enough value on that. If you were to measure and put a monetary figure to it, you would be surprised at just the sheer amount of work that many women across this country are doing that goes completely unrecognized. So in terms of solutions, that's one of the things that we want to be encouraging is we need to start to make provisions in our workplaces for the fact that women do have a lot of these care responsibilities, and we have to acknowledge it and kind of provide them with the support that they need. Also, we need to look at even the way we subtly encourage discrimination against women in specific fields. So areas, for example, like STEM, which is your science, your technology, your engineering, and your math, you won't find a lot of women in those fields. And the way we've been socialized, do you see, and I'm asking both of you on this call, do you see a lot of women in those fields? Can you identify 5 women off the top of your head who you know who work in either science, technology, engineering, or math? Is that something that we see a lot of?
I think it's a rhetorical question, but isn't that, put another way, is the cause of that not to be directed to the women themselves in many ways?
No, because if you are...
Is it the men that you would blame for that? Or is it that women are not interested in that those areas?
We're not blaming men or women at all, but let's be honest about what...
Let me stick with you first, Ms. Howard. Go ahead.
Right. So let's be honest about what representation means. If you do not... This is like, all right, let me liken this to what happened with the civil rights movement with blacks versus whites. We're not necessarily blaming whites. We're saying if a representation is not there, a person cannot see or visualize themselves in that role. So if young girls, for example, never see a female scientist, never see a female astronaut, never see a female engineer or a female mathematician, it is very difficult for them to visualize themselves in that role. It does not mean they do not have interest. What it means is that the representation that they would need in order to be inspired to be a part of that field is not there. And we have to be very careful about how we just kind of dismiss social biases because they are very real and they exist. The reason we call a glass ceiling is because you are able to see where you would like to go, but the barrier preventing you from getting there is pretty much almost invisible. It's like you don't realize it exists until you try to get there and then you roll up into it. That's where the glass ceiling concept itself came from. So these biases create barriers that are very real, but are often so subtle that we don't even notice them. When we had our first female prime minister, how long did it take us to achieve that as a country? And why did it take us so long to achieve that as a country? It is because for so many years, the representation that we were seeing was men in these roles. Is that not true?
Oh, yes.
Right.
Right. So then it's actually really important to provide that representation, and where it does not exist, to also then provide the training and the opportunities so that there can be inclusivity at the very top.
All right. Let me bring back in Mrs. Smith. Mrs. Smith, doesn't that not mean that our women need to be more assertive in these areas and more interested in these areas? When you talk about what's going on in universities in Jamaica, 80% of the graduates are women.
Right, but not in the areas that Ruth was referring.
Why they don't go in those areas? That's what we're saying. Why they're not?
I guess actually, maybe it starts from even our high schools. What's being offered to our girls across the board? You know, are we giving them those choices of going into those areas that are predominantly male? Are we exposing our girls to those kinds of different careers that they could go towards? Are we doing that as a people? You know, are we telling them no? You know, stick to the lawyer, the doctor. That's what are we teaching our girls? And that's where I think we fall down a little bit. We are falling down is in our girls, because it starts very, very early. Usually girls pretty much know what they want to do from early. So we have to start to include our girls in what they're going to do for the future, exposing them to those mathematicians, scientists, etc. Not saying that they're not. I just think we're not doing as well as we should in that area. And I really, really think, even in the schools, as I talk to my friends and I hear the things that are going on in our high schools right now, there's something there's something missing in there, especially in our relationships and our, I think we have a lot to do in terms of gender equality, and it starts from very young.
Yes. All right. I'm happy you segued to that, because we have 2 minutes left. Very quickly then, can you just list, beginning with you, Ms. Smith, some of the things that need to be done now going forward? Practical solutions. List them 1, 2, 3.
Start with Ruth.
Oh, you want to start? All right. Okay. Go ahead, Miss Howard.
All right, no problem. All right. So at a national level, skills training specifically for women and girls in those fields where they are underrepresented. That's a simple, easy way to literally get them into the fields where we are not seeing them. Also, we need more awareness raising around how harmful gender norms and stereotypes actually end up negatively affecting our women and girls and our men and boys in our country. Like, there's a lot of training that needs to be done around that, because there are a lot of cultural things that we believe as a society that are actually pushing the discrimination, pushing prejudices, and pushing the inequality that we see. School and community-based programs that to shift these gender norms, I would also suggest, and the mentorship and the training and the provision of the role models. And I want to just say this one little thing to people. Individually, what you can do is, if you see bias in your workplace, call it out. Hold your leaders accountable. And that's at every level: home, community, nation. Be an advocate. Get more information about the issue. Do your own little research. And if you can't be like an advocate, then join a group that's already speaking out on the issues and be part of this change.
Okay. Well said. Ms. Smith, you want to chime in quickly?
I just think that women need to speak up more. Not sure if they're afraid to speak up. I think that in my career and my life, I have done that a lot. Sometimes when I look at it, I wonder if, it's really the right way. But I actually went to seminar in Dubai recently, and the women in that side of the world, they speak out. They speak out loudly. And I think we're lacking that.
We have to leave it there. Thank you so very much, ladies, for joining us this morning, and continued success in your fields.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
And have a good rest of
to be here.
Bless you.
Bye, Ruth. Bye, Dina.
Bye.
Listeners, the Morning Watch will return in just a moment.
J&Bank
Bank Small Business Loans. Tell us your business and let's turn your ambitions into reality. The time by JN Bank Small Business Loans is
7:30 and a half.
Love 101 invites you to listen to Encounter, presented by the Jamaica Association of Full Gospel Churches, Thursdays at 10 p.m. Every first Thursday, listen for words of upliftment from the Lighthouse Assembly with Bishop Rowan Edwards. Every second Thursday at 10 p.m., listen for a word of encouragement from Mojis Ministries International. That's Women of God in Service with Reverend Dr. Elaine Richards. Every third Thursday, receive words of strength and power from Praise Deliverance Ministry with Senior Pastor Fitzroy Carr. Every fourth Thursday, Reverend Leonie Samuels of the Richmond New Testament Church of God in St. Mary shares words of hope. For fifth Thursdays, it's words of inspiration from the New United Bible Way Church of God with Reverend Dr. Jasmine Brown. That's Encounter, presented by the Jamaica Association of Full Gospel Churches every Thursday at 10 p.m. right here on the family station, Love 101.
For 51 years, Under the Law has been helping you to know your rights and how the laws of Jamaica can help you defend those rights. The program is brought to you on Wednesday by the Bank of Jamaica, building an inclusive economy. Under the Law at 6:20 a.m., 2:35, 6:45, and 9:10 p.m. on Love 101 FM.
Power in great moments. If you have financial needs, Christian Charles will fix them for you. Power in great moments since 1992. Oh, we have it all. Power in great moments. Relax, you got Christian Charles. Oh, we have it all. When you think alone, think Christian Charles.
Refreshing your space should be a breeze. And at Active Home Center, we have made it easy by having what you need all in one place. Shop the largest selection of tiles, bathroom fixtures, lighting, doors, and more. Visit us at 84 Council Spring Road in Kingston or check out our newly opened location in Freeport, Montego Bay. Come speak with our in-house experts and hit refresh on your space. Active Home Center. More savings, more choices.
Save in style every time you shop at Home and Things. Find all the top brands at the best prices. Grab a deal on porcelain, ceramic and mosaic tiles, fixtures and faucets for kitchen and bathroom, windows and doors, lighting, home decor, and more. Yes, you can save in style on just about everything in store. Old Hope Road and Constant Spring Road. Shop for store-wide savings today at Home and Things. Brands you know, brands you can trust.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Let's now look at the newspapers to see what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing in the Gleaner. 300 nabbed in global crackdown on dark web drug marketplace. Also, MAJ urges vigilance after Jamaica's slip in World Press Freedom rankings last year. And I gather that today is World Press Freedom Day, special day. Also in the Observer, Phillips blasts government for ramshackle. Yes, ramshackle public transport. That's what he said. And also sloppy lawyers. Chuck blames attorneys for delays in divorce and probate matters. In Loop News, U.S. man found with cash in wigs at Mobe Airport convicted. And also, UK man learns to walk again after foot sewed on backwards. Wow. Interesting stuff there in regards to the news. Well, coming up next, we read some of the feedback from our social media question. What else has to be done to finally shatter the glass ceiling? What else has to be done to finally shatter the glass ceiling? We're asking you to leave a comment on our Facebook page and YouTube channel, Love 101 FM Jamaica, or WhatsApp 876-997-3125. Soon come back.
Perspectives through the generations. Life in a man's world. Join us Wednesday, May 3 for the mailbox as guest Keneal Allen talks basketball, marriage, music, videography, and so much more. Right here on the family station, Love 101, celebrating 30 years of music, family, and love.
Here is your opportunity to connect with someone who will listen, pray, and give guidance. It's the Ministry of Counseling and Prayer of the Edgewater Baptist Church. Please call 876-220-6474 or 876-332-7956. Weekdays between 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. Saturdays and Sundays between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Please talk to someone if you're finding it particularly challenging to cope during this period of crisis. Someone is waiting for your call. Please reach out today. 876-220-6474 or 876-332-7956. It's the telephone counseling and prayer ministry of the Edgewater Baptist Church. A reminder that somebody cares. Endorsed by Love 101.
When I come to the end of myself, Father, carry me.
Every Wednesday at 11 a.m. on Love 101, you're invited to listen to Good Morning Minister, a weekly feature where government ministers will speak about the development in their various ministries. Listen for the updates and have your questions and concerns ready to share inside Good Morning Minister as the Minister of Information, Robert Nesta Morgan, and a guest minister or agency head discuss the issues and take your questions and suggestions. Get ready to call in during Good Morning Minister, 11 a.m. on Wednesdays, right here on Love 101, the family station.
Another World of Worship Wednesday is coming your way inside Alive, 1 to 5, May 3, packed with worship, fun, and information. Stick around for the brain testing menticized at 1:45. Prayer Blast will come your way at 2 o'clock. More prayer, more power. 2:15, we feature Tamela Man as our worship artist of the day. At 3 p.m. inside the Drama House, we bring you Making Lemonade Season 3, Episode 6, titled Secrets and Lies. All this and more will come your way inside Alive, 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. This World of Worship Wednesday, May 3, with yours truly, Sarah and the Chirpy One on the family station, Love 101. Celebrating 30 years of music, family, and love.
Tell me how you feeling. Everybody feeling alive.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Let's now join Jokal for a look at our Facebook, YouTube, and WhatsApp friends, how they answered the question, what else has to be done to finally shatter the glass ceiling? Jokal.
All right, so I do have a response here, and this response is on YouTube from Faith. Faith said today, good morning, everyone. Start in the family. Build children who will become confident adults and go after what is desired and what will ultimately fix the obstacles.
Okay. I want to thank her so much for responding, and the focus on the family there and the children in particular. Great. Okay. We now segue into the second watch. And Friday, April 28th was World Day for Safety and Health at Work. Did that one miss you? Well, then you probably also missed the fact that the Occupational Safety and Health legislation has not been enacted for over 2 decades. And that is a concern for a number of Jamaicans. Does that include you? Well, to discuss this and other related concerns, we have joining us Dr. Yohan White, President of Jamaica Occupational Health and Safety Professionals Association, and Ms. Khadrea Folks, Attorney at Law. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Good morning to you and your listeners.
Great. Good to have you with us this morning. Dr. White, let's see if we can lay the foundation. What really constitutes occupational health and safety? It sounds, as if, is about health as we know it and safety as we know it. Is it more than that?
Yes. First, let me just say that an organization like the Jamaica Occupational Health and Safety Professional Association brings together practitioners and leaders in the fields of occupational safety and health because it helps to have a united voice, and being a part of a professional association provides a forum for you to continue to keep up to date with developments in the field of occupational safety and health globally. And so we invite persons to become members, and you can find us on social media at JOHSPA Workplace, so that's JOHSPA Workplace on any social media.
All right, that's a free ad there, Doc.
Well, we have to
go ahead.
galvanize. But occupational health and safety deals with preventing injuries and promoting and protecting the health and well-being of workers wherever they work. So the workplace is wherever you're doing work, and we've seen over recent years that context has shifted from a factory setting or an assembly line. And it really involves being proactive and putting certain policies in place and providing training and equipping your workers to remain safe and to be able to protect themselves. So it's a very expansive field, but it has a lot of implications for individuals, for people who are working, and for employers. They have certain obligations in terms of ensuring that the working environment is safe for your employees. And this year, the focus of World Day for Safety and Health at Work is that a safe and healthy working environment is a fundamental principle and right. So as Ms. Folks, Attorney at Law, will explain, that if, as a worker, you don't feel that those conditions have been met, and you may be putting yourself in harm's way if you're not provided with safety equipment, or there's faulty infrastructure at work, then you have a right to refrain from putting yourself in that situation. So a lot of disciplines overlap or contribute to ensuring that, or seeking to promote, a healthy work environment. It includes occupational health as physicians. It includes safety officers, communication as well, and behavior change, management, and legal aspects as well.
Okay. You're loud and clear. Ms. Folks, in a nutshell, in a minute's time we'll be up on a break, but in a nutshell, what does the occupational safety and health legislation really state?
All right. That is a very mammoth task.
Okay, just in a nutshell, a little synopsis.
But first of all, unlike other labor legislation traditionally applies to employees only. So one of the most far-reaching implications of this legislation is that all workers will be protected, not just the very few that are favored to be recognized as employees. So your independent contractors, your domestic workers, and even your apprentices and students during work experience. It also covers health at work. So health at work is given a very broad understanding, in that we're not just talking about your physical safety, which is what we traditionally recognize health at work to be.
I'm so sorry, Ms. Folks. We're up on that break that I had mentioned. All right, stick a pin right there. We'll soon be back.
Sure.
Sardine for the chef and the beginner. Follow the pan with pepper, that are the winner. Shop on supermarkets, everybody selling
sardines. Follow the better flavor.
The time is
7:45.
Follow Grace Sardine. Follow the better flavor. Grace Sardine with the chef and the beginner. Follow the one with pepper. That are the winner. Shop on supermarkets. Everybody sell it. Do all of them nice. Pass the park, make push it.
Grace Sardines, follow the better flavor.
There's certain moments in life you'll cherish forever. Like buying your first car, stepping into your first home, sending your child to university, starting that business you've always dreamed of. These are your great moments, and helping you achieve them is ours. Call Chris and Charles today. We have a loan for all the great moments in your life. Powering great moments since 1992. When you think loans, think Chris and Charles. From generation to generation, Jamaicans have depended on J&B Bank to make the pride and joy of providing a safe place for their families possible. Now, with no processing fees and no down payment mortgage options, you can open the door to your own sweet home, a legacy to hand to your next generation. Visit jnbank.com to get pre-approved today. J&B Bank will help you find a way. They're full of life. You're full of love. They're carefree. You care more. That's why we created Child Protector, a critical illness insurance plan from Sagicor Life. It provides coverage for your child in the event of 15 critical illnesses, hospitalization benefits, life insurance, and investment benefits. So make sure your child can live life to the fullest. Apply for Sagicor Child Protector today.
Save in style every time you shop at Home and Things. Find all the top brands at the best prices. Grab a deal on porcelain, ceramic and mosaic tiles, fixtures and faucets for kitchen and bathroom, windows and doors, lighting, home decor and more. Yes, you can save in style on just about everything in store. Old Hope Road and Constant Spring Road. Shop for store-wide savings today at Home and Things. Brands you know, brands you can trust.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint, and in this, the second watch, we have been exploring the case for a healthy working environment. And in so doing, we have online Ms. Khadrea Folks, attorney at law, Dr. Yohan White, president of the Jamaica Occupational Health and Safety Professionals Association. Ms. Folks, before the break, you're telling us, giving us an idea of this document, this legislation.
Right. So the legislation will speak to total worker health. And so, as traditionally understood, the health of a worker is usually considered to be their physical safety. But this legislation is quite far-reaching, and it recognizes, just like as people of faith, we recognize that man is a physical being and also a social being and a spiritual being. So in terms of how the worker interacts with the work environment, so we're also concerned about mental health at work and how factors, hazards such as violence and harassment can affect a worker's mental health. In terms of the overall schema, the legislation is about preventing injuries and illnesses at work. And so built into the scheme of the legislation is what is considered to be risk control measures. So no longer are we going to be approaching work as somewhere we just show up and we just do what we need to do and go home, because sometimes when we don't anticipate certain things happening in the work environment, then that's where something that could be a near miss or a simple incident becomes an accident and somebody could potentially lose their life. And so built into the legislation is a requirement on all workplace parties to be aware of the hazards associated with carrying out the particular work that they're involved with. And so the workplace lingo will now include terms such as toolbox meetings. So within the work environment, you'll be required to do a risk assessment. You have to identify the hazards associated with carrying out that work. And hazards can be physical, chemical, biological, ergonomic, or psychosocial. Then you have to evaluate and assess the level of risk involved. And then based on all of that, then you're going to implement control measures. So in terms of control measures, first of all, you try to eliminate the hazard, which sometimes is not always easy to do. But at the very least, perhaps you can substitute something that's harmful with something that is less harmful. So, for instance, a particular chemical is shown to cause long-term illnesses, occupational diseases, then you can replace that chemical with something more suitable, so probably something more environmentally friendly. Then you have what is called engineering controls, where, for instance, if it's a situation where a machine has a hazardous part, and that is known globally in terms of industries that use a particular machine, then you can find a way to prevent the worker from coming in contact with a part of that machine that might be hazardous. Because we have incidents of degloving, for instance, in Jamaica, where a worker is operating a machine, something gets lodged in the machine, and they try to use their fingers to remove it, and then they end up losing their fingers. So when workers are educated, then you find that these things will happen less frequently. You have also what is called administrative control, and a lot of persons are not aware of how it is that the whole conversation about flexible work arrangements can impact safety and health at work. Because sometimes we're doing these monotonous tasks and we're doing them for hours on end. And the evidence is that, you know, the more time you spend focusing on something, and after a while your attention span will wane. And that's when incidents and accidents occur. And so on the safety and health dispensation, we're going to be aware of that, and the fact that sometimes you have to rotate the job between workers in order for the job to be carried out safely. And of course, if you're not able to implement any of those control methods, then there are situations where personal protective equipment can protect the worker. For instance, workers on a building that's several stories tall. Sometimes we see them just climb up there and they're flashing and they're doing all of these things. That's not safe. And so what employers will be required to do is to ensure that they provide like a safety harness or a fall arrest system. You know, these are some of the things that we have to be.
Right. Well, it seems to be a voluminous document, and it's a good thing I ask you to give a nutshell expression of it, because it seems to be so much involved in it, these folks.
Yes, it is. Very involved.
Right. Now, based on what was just said a while ago, and I'm sure you're aware of those things, Dr. White, what are your concerns, even with the legislation and the fact that it's taken, 2 decades to be enacted?
It's a recognition that we have a leadership deficit, or had a leadership deficit, and unfortunately our representatives have taken the Jamaican population for granted. And, you know, there's a number of conflicting interests that have to be balanced. There are employers, there are workers, there are trade unions, etc. And so it really takes excellent communication and leadership skills to balance all of those interests. And that has probably contributed to some of the delay, but it's a greater call for greater leadership. And prioritizing the Jamaican worker, this legislation is really a call for a cultural shift. We're moving away from a worker just being somebody who's told what to do and given instructions, to recognizing their human dignity and recognizing the power imbalance that exists between somebody who is paying you to do work and somebody who's showing up for work. So it seeks to focus and empower the worker. It expands the definition of what is considered as a workplace, as Ms. Folks had alluded to earlier. So it's really seeking to empower the worker. And so workers, employees, really have to agitate and call upon their leaders to put the energy and the focus that is required to pass this legislation. It makes good economic sense to have legislation like this, because the liability to employers when you have an incident of a death at work, we've seen numerous incidents in the news, you know, persons cleaning out septic tanks and, you know, because of exposure to toxic gases, they lose their life. Different incidents, the liability to the employer is massive, so it makes good sense to spend what you need to spend to put preventive measures in place, to have experts who are not available within your organization come in to provide training for your workers, equipping them with the necessary safety gear, For psychosocial hazards, which is something that is not recognized enough in certain occupations, like, especially security forces, as an employer what your staff are going to be exposed to. So what are you doing in terms of mental health resources to build the resilience of those individuals and to help them to recognize early the signs of depression or anxiety or post-traumatic stress disorder, and what resources are you making available to treat and preventing the escalation of these conditions. So it's really a far-reaching piece of legislation. It's really a move towards changing the power dynamic between employer and employee, and it's really about empowering workers. And we really, really, really do need leadership. I mean, this has been going on term after term, and everybody, every minister is making a promise that it's going to be passed this year, and it's very, very concerning.
Yeah, Ms. Folks, I gather that there is a view out there that the reason for this delay is that the government itself will have to get its house in order, and that is why it has just talk, but nothing further. You want to respond to that? And also, what about the home scenarios where more people are working now from their homes? How does this legislation affect that?
All right. So, in terms of the state of government's house, and from my vantage point, I don't really know. But I because this legislation will apply to government as an employer, then of course compliance issues need to be addressed. But I'm thinking that there is a will, and I'm not getting the sense that there's no will, but it's an area of regulation that we haven't really dealt with before. And so it requires the right people being at the table. And, JOHSPA is well positioned because all the experts that you need in the field, the practitioners, can bring to bear, their skills and expertise on the policy matters under this bill.
And JOHSPA is the acronym for the organization that Dr. White represents.
Yes.
Right. For our listeners.
I'm also the Director of Communications of JOHSPA.
Okay.
Right. So in terms of your question as to home scenarios, yes, there are certain safety and health obligations that apply to remote work or work from home. Certainly, if it is that the worker is provided with equipment, then that equipment needs to be safe and fit for task. The international wisdom, what has been happening is that where a worker is going to work outside of the office space or the workplace, traditionally understood, and they're going to be working from another location, such as home, the employers in ensuring that they're not in breach of their safety and health obligations have been taking it upon themselves to do a risk assessment. So they go in that work environment, they might provide you a desk and a chair, because if you use your dining table and chair, you might end up with ergonomic issues.
Right.
And it's become a concern for them.
Right.
And so there has been some not so much in terms of case law, but there have been issues arising internationally where people are injured on the job, and employers have been made to assume responsibility based on the time at which they were injured and the fact that, for instance, they're walking from their desk to get some lunch, so they're basically on lunchtime, so they're still at work, but they're at home. And the employer has been made to bear some responsibility. So in terms of risk assessment, which is why I'm saying we need to reorient how it is that we do work and conceive of the worker interacting with the work environment, even if it is at home, because there are some instances where the employer can still be held liable.
Okay. Well, we have to leave it there. By the way, Ms. Folks, how do we access this document, at least in at this stage of development?
The 2018 version of the bill should be on Parliament's website because it was the subject of a joint selection of Parliament.
Okay, thank you. All right, thank you both for joining us. Informative discussion. Have a safe day.
Yes,
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, listeners, for being with us. Join us again tomorrow as we continue to set the stage for discussion of topical and controversial issues. For information or get copies of this program, call our production department at 876-968-95967. This has been the Morning Watch. Thanks to our producer, Kathy Gale, and our guests. I'm Dylan Toussaint, giving a shout out to the pastor and members of the Old Harbor Bay Circuit of Baptist Churches. Handing you back to Love in the Morning with Jukal Dyer.
The Morning Watch was brought to you by Home and Things, your construction finishes superstore.